The deep space vessel Aurora drifted slowly above the unknown world, its engines humming in steady rhythm. The crew had traveled far across the galaxy following a faint signal that had appeared on their scanners months before. The signal pulsed like a heartbeat, faint yet constant, coming from a planet hidden in the outer rim where no chart marked its name. Commander Rahul stood at the front observation window, watching as the planet came into view. It was a dark and misty place, its surface hidden under endless clouds and shadows. The landing was rough. The planet's gravity pulled stronger than expected, shaking the vessel as it descended. When the landing gear touched the cracked ground, dust rose into the air, swirling in pale clouds. The world was silent, almost too silent, as if it had been waiting for them. Rahul ordered his team to suit up. They moved carefully, adjusting helmets and checking weapons. Each member carried not only tools for exploration but also rifles for defense. The unknown had its dangers, and Rahul never trusted first impressions. Stepping out of the ship, Rahul was the first to feel the weight of the place. The air was damp and heavy, pressing on the chest even through the suit's filters. Mist rolled across the ground, wrapping around their legs as they walked. The surface was littered with stone fragments, broken walls, and sharp ridges that hinted at ruins long abandoned. Strange markings covered some of the stones, deep scratches that looked unnatural. Rahul bent closer, brushing away dirt with his glove. The scratches were not random. They looked like claw marks, long and deliberate, carved into solid rock with terrifying strength. The team moved further from the landing site, scanning the area. Technician Myra reported faint energy readings ahead, buried beneath layers of stone. Pilot Jonas muttered that the place felt wrong, but Rahul kept them moving. Curiosity was stronger than fear, and orders demanded answers. They followed the signals until they reached the edge of a massive structure half collapsed into the ground. It looked like a temple or fortress, its tall pillars cracked yet still standing against time. Shadows clung to its walls, and the silence inside felt thicker than the mist outside. Rahul led them in. Their boots echoed on the stone floor. The deeper they went, the more carvings they found. On the walls were figures shaped like humans, drawn in long lines and scenes of battle. The figures carried spears and blades, facing a beast painted larger than them all. The beast had jagged teeth and burning eyes, its claws stretching across the walls. The story seemed to tell of endless struggle between humans and the monster. Myra touched the carvings and whispered that they looked like warnings. Jonas laughed nervously and said they were only old myths. But Rahul's eyes stayed on the stone. Myths always carried pieces of truth. He ordered the team to record everything and continue. The energy signal grew stronger as they moved deeper into the ruins. In one corner chamber they found shattered tools and what looked like bones, scattered across the floor. Time had turned them brittle, yet the shape was still human. The discovery made the crew fall silent. Someone had lived here long ago. Someone had died here. The mist outside thickened, sliding slowly into the open halls. It seemed alive, curling through cracks and broken doorways. Rahul checked the time. The twin suns above were beginning to sink, their light fading. He did not like the idea of being inside the ruins when darkness came, but the signal was close. They had to finish what they started. He pushed the team onward. At last they reached the source. A pedestal stood in the center of a wide hall, and on it rested a crystal device still glowing faintly with energy. After centuries, it should have been dead, but it pulsed as if breathing. Myra approached carefully, scanning its readings. She said the device might have been a beacon, sending out the signal that had guided their ship. Rahul frowned, asking why it still worked when everything else around it had fallen to dust. Myra had no answer. The silence was broken by a sound none of them expected. A voice, weak and broken, echoed from the shadows behind the pedestal. "You should not be here." The crew froze. From the dark corner, a figure stumbled forward. He looked human yet not the same. His limbs were thin, his face marked with strange lines, and his eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. He leaned on the wall as if every step drained him, but his voice carried fear more than weakness. Leave before night. Leave before it wakes. Jonas raised his rifle in panic, but Rahul stopped him with a hand. The man in front of them was no enemy, not yet. Rahul asked who he was, how he survived here, and what he meant by it. The figure shook his head, staring toward the dark halls behind them. The hunter, he whispered. It comes when the suns are gone. It hunts all that breathes. None escape. His voice cracked as he begged them again to leave. The crew looked to Rahul, their faces tense behind the glow of their helmets. Rahul felt a weight pressing on his chest, the same weight he had felt stepping onto this world. He did not know if the man spoke truth or madness, but he did know one thing. The planet was not empty. Something lived here, something strong enough to carve stone like paper and leave only bones behind. Rahul tightened his grip on his weapon. The mist was growing darker, and the suns were almost gone. The night was coming. The sun slipped lower behind the horizon, their fading light spilling into the ruined hall. Long shadows stretched across the stone floor, and the mist thickened until the walls seemed to melt into the dark. The survivor who had stumbled from the corner stood trembling, his eyes darting toward the entrances as if expecting something to appear at any moment. His voice shook but his words were clear. You must leave before night. If you stay, you will not see another dawn. Commander Rahul studied him with sharp eyes. The man looked human but not like anyone from their colonies. His hair was long and ragged, his skin marked with faint patterns that glowed when the dim light touched them. He carried no weapon, no tool, nothing but fear. Yet that fear felt heavy, as if carved from years of living with terror. Rahul lowered his weapon but kept his stance ready. Who are you? He asked. How long have you lived here? The man pressed his back against the wall, his chest rising and falling fast. I am one of the last, he said. Our people came long ago. Some survived, most did not. We learned to hide, but the hunter always returns. It feels us. It finds us. His eyes narrowed with desperate urgency. You brought noise, light, and steps. It already knows you are here. Myra stepped forward, her scanner in hand. She looked at the glowing lines across his skin and spoke in a low voice to Rahul. These patterns, they look like adaptations. Maybe his people changed to live here. She looked at the man again. You said your people came long ago. Were they human? The survivor nodded slowly. Yes. We were human once, from the stars like you. Our ship fell, and the world took us. Some changed, some broke, but we remained. His words carried sadness but also pride. We learned the truth of this place. The hunter cannot be destroyed. It can only be endured. Jonas muttered uneasily, his hand still close to his rifle. Endured? What kind of beast are we talking about? His attempt at bravado rang hollow, and his eyes kept flicking to the growing shadows. The survivor's answer chilled the air. It is rage given form. A predator born from the silence of this land. It hunts the mind as much as the flesh. Fear feeds it. When you tremble, when you run, it grows stronger. It waits for night to fall because night belongs to it. The crew exchanged uneasy looks. The warnings carved into the walls suddenly felt less like myth and more like memory. Rawls' gaze swept across the chamber, then back to the survivor. If it comes, how do we fight it? The man lowered his head. You do not fight. You survive. Hide. Control your heart, control your breath. Show no fear. Those who panic die first. That is the law of this world. His glowing eyes rose to meet Rawls. But you should not stay to test it. Leave now while there is light. The command seemed simple, yet Rahul knew it was not so. Their ship had landed deep within the ruins. The trek back through the heavy mist would take hours. The suns were already gone, the last streaks of red sinking under the horizon. Night was spreading fast, covering the land like a closing fist. Even if they left now, darkness would catch them in the open. Rahul tightened his jaw. We can't make it back before night. We need a plan. The survivor shook his head with despair. Then you are already caught. The ruins may give some shelter, but nothing holds against the hunter forever. It knows the paths. It knows the stone. He closed his eyes briefly, as if hearing distant footsteps no one else could hear. I have hidden many nights. I can show you where the shadows run deep. It may give you a chance. Rahul studied him. Trusting this stranger was a risk, but every instinct told him the man spoke truth. His fear was too real, too live to be false. Rahul nodded. Show us. They followed the survivor through twisting halls and crumbling passages. The ruins were a maze of broken walls and silent corridors. At times the mist rolled in so thick they could not see the person walking a step ahead. Myra checked her scanner again and again, but the readings were strange, filled with interference that made no sense. Jonas muttered about being blind, about walking into a trap. Rahul silenced him with a look. Fear was already biting at the edges of the team. Finally, the survivor led them into a chamber partly hidden underground. The roof had collapsed long ago, leaving only narrow slits of stone through which pale light filtered. Shadows gathered in the corners, deep and dark. The man motioned for silence and pressed a finger to his lips. Here, he whispered. Here you wait. Make no sound when it comes. Do not breathe too loud. Do not cry out. The hunter listens to fear more than ears. The crew spread out inside the chamber, uneasy and restless. The silence was heavy now, heavier than before. Outside, the last light faded, and the ruins sank into blackness. The air grew colder. Somewhere deep in the distance, a sound rose that made the hairs on their necks stand straight. It was not a roar, not a cry, but something in between. A guttural rumble that carried anger, hunger, and endless fury. It echoed through the stone halls, shaking dust from the ceiling. The survivor's eyes widened, and he crouched low against the wall. His whisper was almost lost in the dark. It is awake. The chamber was silent except for the uneven breaths of the crew. The sound they had heard still echoed faintly through the ruins, a deep rumble that felt more alive than any voice. Commander Rahul motioned for everyone to stay low. His eyes moved across the dark hall, searching for movement, but the mist made everything uncertain. The survivor crouched near a corner, his glowing eyes fixed on the doorway. He whispered without looking at Rahul, "It is close." The crew gripped their weapons tighter. Jonas muttered under his breath that no beast could get through their rifles, but his voice trembled. Myra checked her scanner, but it flickered with static. She shook it in frustration, then gave up. "It is jamming everything," she whispered. "I cannot read anything beyond 5 meters. Rahul kept his focus forward. "Stay together. We are not prey," he said firmly, though his own heart was beating fast. The first sound came from above them. A scraping of claws across stone. Dust fell from the ceiling. Everyone aimed upward, rifles raised, but nothing appeared. The sound shifted to the left, then to the right, as if something enormous moved swiftly along the walls. A low growl followed, vibrating through the stones. Jonas snapped and fired a short burst into the dark corridor. The shots lit the passage with bright flashes, but the bullets struck only walls. The sound of his gun echoed and then faded. The silence that followed was worse than the noise. The survivor turned his head sharply toward Jonas, eyes filled with fear and anger. "You feed it," he hissed. "Every shot, every cry, gives it more." Before Rahul could respond, the attack came. From the mist, a shadow surged forward, faster than eyes could follow. The predator was massive, taller than any human, its body built of muscle and speed. Glowing eyes cut through the dark like fire. Its claws slashed across the stone as it charged, the ground trembling with each step. The crew opened fire in panic. Shots blazed through the hall, striking the beast's body, but it barely slowed. Each hit seemed to make it angrier, its roar shaking the chamber until stones cracked. The predator lunged, knocking aside a broken pillar as if it were nothing. Shards of rock flew across the room, and 2 crew members stumbled back under the force. Raoul shouted orders, pulling the team into formation. Myra ducked low, pulling the wounded out of the way while Jonas and another soldier poured fire at the beast. Sparks flashed as bullets struck, but the predator kept moving, slamming its claw into the floor and sending cracks racing across the stone. For a moment, Raoul saw the beast's full form in the muzzle flashes. Its body was covered in thick hide, its limbs long and powerful. Its mouth was lined with rows of sharp teeth, and its eyes burned with unnatural rage. This was no ordinary animal. It carried intelligence in its gaze, watching them, studying them as it struck. The survivor shouted over the chaos. "Do not fear it. Calm your hearts. If you panic, you die." But fear was already in the air. The crew's breathing grew faster, their movements frantic. The predator fed on it, its speed increasing, its strikes heavier. Jonas cursed loudly as his rifle jammed. The beast turned its eyes on him and lunged. Raoul dove forward, firing at its side to draw it away. The bullets sparked against its hide, not enough to kill but enough to slow its charge. Myra pulled Jonas back, shoving him against the wall just as the predator's claw struck the ground where he had been standing. The impact shattered stone and filled the air with dust. The beast let out another roar, and the chamber shook as if the ruins themselves feared it. Raoul steadied his breath. Panic would kill them faster than claws. He shouted above the noise. "Control yourselves. Focus your shots. Aim for its head." The crew obeyed, tightening their formation. They aimed together and unleashed a focused burst at the predator's eyes. For the first time, it staggered back, snarling as blood splattered the floor. It roared louder than before, but the sound was mixed with pain. The survivor's eyes lit with hope. Yes. When it bleeds, it remembers it can be hurt. The beast slammed its claws against the wall, breaking through stone as if to release its rage. Then it turned and moved back into the mist, its glowing eyes fading until only silence remained. The chamber fell quiet. Dust floated in the air, and the crew panted heavily, their rifles smoking. Jonas leaned against the wall, his face pale. "We hit it. We hurt it. Why didn't it finish us?" The survivor shook his head slowly. "It was testing you. It strikes fast, then waits. It wants your fear to grow. The more you fear, the stronger it becomes." Raoul clenched his fists. "So it plays with us." His voice was steady, but anger burned in his chest. He hated being hunted. Myra checked the wounded. 2 soldiers were hurt but still alive, their armor dented by flying stone. She bound their wounds quickly while keeping her eyes on the dark. "If it comes again, I do not know if we can hold it," she said. The survivor looked toward the shadows with a grim face. "It will come again. It never stops until none remain." Raoul raised his weapon and faced his team. "Then we stand ready. We are not prey. We will not let it break us." His voice was firm, steady, and clear. But deep in the ruins, the rumble of claws began again, echoing like thunder moving closer. The first strike had ended, but the night was far from over. The ruins lay in silence after the predator's retreat. Dust still drifted from broken stone, and the crew stood tense, weapons raised toward the dark corridors. Every shadow seemed alive, every faint sound made hearts pound harder. Raoul lowered his rifle slowly, his eyes never leaving the mist-filled passage where the predator had vanished. "It will be back," the survivor whispered, his voice low but steady. His glowing eyes searched the cracks in the walls as if he could still see the creature moving beyond sight. "It always comes back." Rahul gave a sharp nod. "Then we prepare before it does. We cannot keep running blind." He turned to Myra. "What do your scans show?" Myra shook her head. "The interference is still here. My scanner can barely track life signs beyond a few steps. But there is something below us. Energy spikes, like another chamber under this floor." The survivor stiffened at her words. His face carried both fear and memory. "You do not want to go down there." Rahul stepped closer. "Why?" The man's gaze grew heavy. "Because it is where the truth waits. My people kept records there. Stories of what we faced. You will not like what you find." Rahul straightened, his decision firm. "Truth is better than ignorance. Lead us." Reluctantly, the survivor obeyed. He led them to a side passage partly buried under collapsed stone. With careful steps, the crew cleared the rubble and uncovered a stairway that spiraled down into the ground. The air grew colder as they descended, the mist thinning into damp stone walls. At the bottom lay a wide chamber lit faintly by crystals glowing in the dark. What they found there froze them in silence. Across the walls were carvings, not of myth but of history. Figures shaped like humans fought the great predator, their spears and blades striking in desperate defense. In other carvings, humans fled, their bodies broken and scattered. Yet as the story moved forward across the walls, changes appeared. The humans began to look different. Their bodies grew leaner, their limbs longer, and strange glowing lines marked their skin. They were changing, adapting, becoming something new. Jonas whispered, "That looks like him," and pointed toward the survivor. The glowing lines on his body matched those carved on the walls. The survivor's head lowered. His voice was quiet, but each word carried deep weight. "We were once like you. Long ago, a ship came here. It fell, and its people were trapped. They built these halls, fought the predator, and tried to survive. But the beast was stronger than their weapons. They could not win. So they changed." Myra stepped closer, studying the carvings. "You mean, adapted? Generation after generation, your people evolved to survive." "Yes," the survivor said. "The world forced it on us. Those who could not change died. Those who did became like me. We learned to hide. We learned that fear feeds the predator. We trained our minds to resist panic, to quiet the heart. It gave us a chance, but never victory. We endure. That is all." The chamber fell silent. The weight of centuries hung heavy in the air. Rahul walked slowly across the room, his hand brushing over the carvings. He stopped at one image showing the predator standing over fallen humans, its eyes burning like fire. Beneath it, smaller figures with glowing lines stood defiant, though smaller and weaker. Rahul turned to his crew. "This is not just a beast. It is a war that never ended. Their people fought it, and now we stand in their place. But we are not the same. We are soldiers of the stars. We do not just endure." The survivor looked at him with weary eyes. "You do not understand. Many said those words before you. All failed." Rahul's jaw tightened. "Then we learn what they could not." Before the survivor could answer, a low sound rumbled through the chamber. The walls shook slightly, dust falling from the ceiling. The predator was moving again above them. Its claws scraped the stone like thunder rolling through the ruins. The crew raised their weapons, their hearts beating faster. The survivor lifted his hand, warning them. "Control yourselves. Do not let fear rule you. Every beat of fear feeds it." Rahul forced a deep breath, steadying himself. The crew followed, but the fear was hard to push down. The memory of its speed, its claws tearing through stone, stayed fresh in their minds. Then Myra noticed something else on the far wall. A series of symbols carved in a circle, surrounding a crystal shard. She brushed dust away and scanned it. This is not only history. It looks like instructions. A weapon, or maybe a defense. The survivor's eyes widened when he saw it. That is forbidden. My people sealed it away. They believed fighting only made the predator stronger. Rahul studied the carvings with sharp eyes. Maybe they gave up too soon. Maybe this is the key they never used. The predator's roar echoed again above them, louder than before. The chamber shook, and cracks spread across the ceiling. The crew steadied their rifles, knowing the beast was near. Rahul looked at the survivor. You said your people endured. But humanity does more than endure. We fight, we adapt, and we rise. Show us what this means. Show us the secret your people left behind. The survivor hesitated, torn between the memory of his ancestors and the fire in Rawl's words. His glowing eyes met Rawl's steady gaze. Finally, he nodded. I will show you. But know this, once the hunter feels your defiance, its rage will grow. Rahul raised his weapon, his voice calm but strong. Then let it rage. We are ready. The chamber shook with each roar that rolled through the ruins. Dust drifted from the ceiling, and cracks widened across the stone floor. The predator was moving above them, hunting, listening, feeding on the fear that lingered in the air. The survivor stood before the wall of carvings, his glowing eyes unsettled. His hand touched the circle of symbols around the crystal shard. My people sealed this, he said. They believed defiance was poison. To fight it only gave it more strength. That is why we hid. Commander Rahul stepped closer, his jaw firm. Hiding has not saved you. It only let the beast keep its rule. Humanity was never meant to bow to fear. Show us how to use this. For a long moment the survivor hesitated. Then, with a deep breath, he pressed his palm against the crystal. The carvings lit faintly, glowing with pale light that spread across the chamber walls. The shard pulsed like a beating heart. Myra scanned it quickly. Her device buzzed with unstable readings. This looks like some kind of energy trap, she said. It channels power into a field. Not strong enough to kill, but it might slow the predator, weaken its rage. The survivor lowered his hand. It will not last long. The beast is stronger than stone, stronger than fire. But if you stand together, you may hold it. Rahul turned to his crew. Then that is what we do. No more panic, no more wasted shots. We fight as one. Calm, steady, and precise. His eyes swept over each soldier. Their faces were pale, their breaths fast, but his words gave them a steady anchor. They nodded, gripping their rifles with firmer resolve. The ground above cracked sharply. A section of ceiling broke apart, stone crashing to the floor. From the opening, mist poured in, thick and cold. Then the sound came again, the scrape of claws against stone, closer, louder, as if the predator was carving its path straight down to them. The survivor's voice was low. It knows you resist. Its rage grows. The crew formed a circle around the chamber, rifles aimed outward. Myra and Jonas activated the crystal field, and pale light spread across the floor like rippling water. The survivor crouched low, breathing slow, steady, his eyes glowing brighter as he calmed his fear. Rahul mirrored him, forcing his own heartbeat steady. Then the predator struck. It dropped through the broken ceiling with terrifying speed, landing in the center of the chamber. The ground cracked under its weight. Its glowing eyes locked on them, burning brighter than before. Its roar thundered through the chamber, shaking the crystal walls. But this time the crew did not scatter. Their breaths were calm, their aim steady. Rahul gave the command, and their rifles fired in perfect rhythm. Bullets tore across the predator's hide, sparks flying where they struck. The beast lunged, but the crystal field flared, slowing its movements as if thick air pressed against it. The predator snarled and slashed at the field, its claws tearing sparks from the glowing barrier. It was slowed, but not stopped. It struck again and again, each blow shaking the chamber. Jonas shouted as he fired. "It is working. Keep steady." The predator roared louder, its eyes burning with greater fury. Its muscles swelled, its speed increased, and cracks spread across the floor. The survivor shouted, "Hold your fear. Do not let it break your minds." One soldier stumbled back as the beast's roar filled the air, his breathing fast, panic rising. The predator turned instantly, its eyes locking on him. It lunged, its claw striking through the barrier with renewed strength. Rahul fired at its head, Myra joined, and the soldier was pulled back at the last moment, armor torn but life spared. The predator thrashed wildly, its rage growing beyond control. The crystal field flickered, dimming with each strike. Myra shouted that it could not hold much longer. Rahul made his choice. Focus on its head. Calm, steady, together. They tightened formation, every shot aimed at the predator's glowing eyes. The beast roared again, louder than thunder, but its movements slowed as the energy field pulled against it. Blood spilled across the stone, thick and dark. The predator struck one last time, its claw tearing into the floor as the crystal shattered with a sharp crack. The field died, the light fading instantly. The beast staggered, its body covered in wounds, but it was still alive. It raised its head, snarling, rage unbroken. The survivor shouted, "It is wounded. That has not happened in centuries. You have done what none of us ever could." But Rahul kept his eyes on the beast. It was not finished. Its body shook with fury, its roar carrying a promise of more violence to come. The crew reloaded, forming again into a circle. Their breaths were calm, their fear contained. For the first time since setting foot on this world, they no longer felt like prey. They stood together, bloodied but unbroken, facing the predator with unshaken resolve. The night was not over. The predator's rage had been unleashed, and it would return with greater fury. But Rawl's voice was steady as he spoke to his crew. "We bleed it. We hurt it. That means it can fall. Humanity does not hide. Humanity fights." And as the echoes of his words filled the chamber, the predator's roar rose again from the shadows, promising that the battle was far from finished. The chamber was broken and filled with dust. The crystal that once glowed with energy now lay in shattered pieces on the stone floor. The predator had been wounded, but its rage was far from ended. Its roar still echoed through the ruins, rolling like thunder across the walls. The crew stood tense, weapons raised, their bodies sore and their nerves stretched. Yet for the first time since landing, they felt something new: hope. Commander Rawl's voice cut through the silence. "We stood against it, and it bled. That means we can finish this." The survivor shook his head, his glowing eyes filled with warning. "You do not understand. Every wound, every defiance, feeds its fury. The more you fight, the stronger it becomes." Rahul faced him firmly. "And if we keep hiding, it will keep hunting. That has been your way for centuries, but it ends now. We fight not only to survive tonight but to end this nightmare." The survivor looked into Rawl's eyes and saw a fire he had not seen in his people for generations. For a moment he said nothing, then slowly nodded. "If you choose this path, then I will stand with you." The crew began to prepare. Myra examined her broken scanner, pulling pieces together to create crude sensors that could track movement. Jonas checked the remaining ammunition and distributed it carefully. Every soldier reloaded their rifles with steady hands. The survivor drew marks on the floor, showing where the predator often struck and how it moved. "It does not rush without purpose," he explained. "It circles, It tests. It finds weakness before the killing blow. Rahul used this knowledge to form a plan. We use its own patience against it. We lure it, trap it, and strike together. We do not scatter, we do not panic. Calm minds, steady aim. That is how we win. The roar came again, closer this time. Stones trembled as claws scraped along the ruins. The predator was circling above, waiting for the moment to strike. Rahul placed Myra near the broken entrance, Jonas by the far wall, and 2 soldiers at each side. The survivor stayed close, his breathing slow and even, his body calm despite the tension. Rahul stood at the center, his rifle steady in his hands. The silence broke when the predator appeared once more. It dropped into the chamber with explosive force, claws tearing across the floor. Its wounds bled, but its eyes blazed brighter than before, filled with endless rage. Its roar thundered, shaking dust from the walls. But this time the crew did not fire in panic. They waited, steady, their breaths controlled. The predator charged, but Rahul shouted, "Now!" Together they opened fire in perfect unison. Their bullets tore into the beast's chest and shoulders, sparks and blood flying. The predator staggered but quickly adapted, rushing toward the left flank. Jonas held firm, forcing himself not to retreat. He fired with calm aim, and the soldiers beside him did the same. The predator's strike met with a wall of fire. Snarling, the beast leaped high, claws outstretched. Rahul braced, firing at its glowing eyes. The shot struck true, and the predator crashed to the ground, roaring in fury. It swung its claws, smashing stone into fragments, but the crew did not break. Myra shouted over the noise, "It is slowing. Keep steady." The predator lunged again, but this time it met the survivor. Moving with surprising speed, the survivor threw a shard of crystal at the beast's face. The crystal burst with energy, searing its hide. The predator reeled back, howling in pain. "It remembers this," the survivor said. "My people once used them." Rahul seized the moment. "All focus fire. Do not stop." Bullets rained on the predator as it stumbled. The chamber filled with smoke, dust, and the roar of defiance. For every step the predator took forward, the crew pushed it back with fire and resolve. The fear that once ruled them was gone. They fought not as prey but as hunters. The predator slammed its claws into the floor, sending cracks racing across the chamber. Stones collapsed from the ceiling. A soldier was pinned by falling rubble, crying out in pain. Myra rushed to pull him free while Rahul covered her, firing at the predator's eyes again. The beast struck wildly, enraged, but its movements grew less precise. Its rage was consuming it. Jonas shouted, "It is weakening." The survivor raised his voice above the chaos. "Its fury is endless, but its body is not. Break it before it breaks you." With one last command, Rahul ordered all fire concentrated on its head. The crew unleashed everything they had left. The predator thrashed violently, smashing walls and pillars, but it could not withstand the storm of bullets. At last, it staggered back, crashing into the broken wall behind it. Its roar shook the chamber, but its strength faltered. Breathing heavy, Rahul stepped forward, rifle steady. "This ends tonight." The predator, wounded and bleeding, glared at him with burning eyes. For a moment it seemed ready to strike again, but its legs failed. With a final roar that shook the ruins, it fell to the ground, claws scraping weakly against the stone before falling still. Silence followed. The chamber was filled only with the sound of breathing, heavy and exhausted. The crew lowered their rifles slowly, staring at the fallen beast. Myra checked her scanner, her voice shaking with relief. "No movement. It is down." The survivor looked at the body with wide eyes. His voice was filled with disbelief. "You did what we never could. You faced the rage and did not break." Rahul lowered his rifle and looked at his team. They were bloodied, bruised, and exhausted, but their eyes were steady. He spoke firmly. We are human. We do not bow to fear. We stand, we fight, and we endure. For the first time since arriving on the planet, the survivor smiled faintly. The predator lay defeated, but the night was not yet over. The ruins groaned as if the world itself was shifting. Somewhere deeper in the dark, another roar echoed faintly, far away but real. The survivor's eyes grew serious once again. This was not the only one. The chamber was quiet, the dust still hanging in the air. The predator's body lay broken on the ground, its once burning eyes now dim. The crew stood in silence, breathing heavy, each one carrying wounds and exhaustion. For a moment, there was relief. But then the faint roar came again from the deeper ruins, distant yet real, and that relief faded into tension. The survivor looked toward the dark passages stretching beyond the chamber. His face, once lined with sorrow, now held a new kind of fear. It was not alone, he said quietly. We always believed there was only one. But if another walks, then its rage is not bound to one body. Rahul clenched his fists. He had led his people through battles before, but this was no ordinary enemy. Then we need to know how many, he said firmly. If there are more, we must be ready. Myra checked her scanner, trying to piece together signals through broken systems. The device sparked, but faint readings flickered. She frowned. Movement, faint and far below. It is not close yet, but it is there. If more awaken, we may not survive another fight like this. Jonas sat down against the wall, his rifle across his lap. He was exhausted but still alert. So what now, Commander? We killed one, but if more come, we cannot keep fighting forever. Rahul looked at the fallen predator, its claws still sharp even in death. His mind turned to the survivor, who had lived his entire life in fear of these creatures. You said your people tried to fight once, Rahul said. What happened to them? The survivor's eyes lowered. Long ago, we believed we could destroy them. We built weapons, traps, and tools. We fought bravely, but every time we struck, they came back stronger. At last we gave up. We chose to hide, to pray that rage would pass us by. But it never did. Our hope died with our courage. Rahul placed a hand on the survivor's shoulder. That is the difference. Humanity does not stop at fear. We keep pushing, no matter how impossible it looks. You said their fury grows when resisted. Then we must learn to turn that fury against them. The crew rested for only a short while before they began searching the ruins. They moved carefully, guided by the survivor who knew the old passages well. In the deepest chambers, they found carvings on the walls. Strange symbols and figures were etched into the stone. Myra studied them, brushing away dust. This is history, she whispered. These ruins are older than the predator. They speak of a war, not between humans and this beast, but between this planet's ancient people and something much greater. The survivor traced one carving with his hand. It showed many humanoids standing together, raising shards of crystal toward a monstrous shape. My ancestors, he said softly. They tried to bind the rage. Not kill it, but trap it within vessels of crystal. Rahl's eyes lit with realization. So that is why the crystal hurt it? The energy was meant to hold its power. Myra nodded quickly. If we can restore the crystals, maybe we can seal the rage again. Not just one predator, but all of them. The survivor shook his head. The crystals were broken long ago. We believed them lost forever. But Jonas, weary yet hopeful, pointed to the shattered shards still glowing faintly on the floor. Maybe not all is lost. We have pieces. And humans know how to rebuild from pieces. Hope flickered in the chamber once more. The crew gathered every shard they could find, careful not to waste a single one. Myra worked to fit them together, while Rahul and the others defended the chamber, keeping watch on the deep passages. Time passed slowly, every sound in the ruins sending shivers of tension through the group. At last Myra raised the reassembled crystal. Its glow returned, weak at first but growing stronger as if fed by the courage around it. The survivor stared at it with awe. "You did what my people never could. You gave it life again." The ground trembled as a new roar rose from below. The second predator was coming. The crew stood ready, but this time their fear was tempered with purpose. Rahul lifted his rifle. "We are not here to run. We are here to end this." The predator emerged from the shadows, its body larger than the first, its fury even greater. Its eyes burned like fire as it entered the chamber. The crew braced, weapons aimed, but Rahul gave no order to fire. Instead, Myra raised the crystal high. The glow spread through the ruins, lighting the carvings on the walls. The predator roared and lunged, but as it neared the crystal, its body faltered. Its claws shook, its roar broke into a howl. The glow wrapped around it, forcing it back. The survivor's voice rose above the chaos. "It fears the binding. Hold it steady." Together the crew fired in bursts, not to kill but to drive the beast toward the crystal's light. Step by step, the predator was forced back, its rage meeting a power older than itself. The glow grew brighter until it filled the entire chamber. The predator let out one final roar before being swallowed by the light. When the glow faded, the chamber was silent once again. The beast was gone. No body remained, only marks scorched into the stone. The survivor fell to his knees, tears in his glowing eyes. "It is sealed again. You have done what we thought impossible." Rahul looked around at his weary crew. They were scarred, tired, but alive. He spoke with pride. "We are not the strongest, nor the fastest. But we endure. And that is why humanity survives." The survivor rose slowly, his voice filled with respect. "Perhaps your people are the hunters now. Not prey. Not ever again." The crew carried the restored crystal with them as they left the ruins. The night sky greeted them with its cold stars, but for the first time it did not feel threatening. It felt like victory. As they prepared to leave the cursed planet, Rahul gave one last order. "We will not hide this. The galaxy must know that the rage can be faced, and it can be stopped. Humanity stood against the predator, and we did not break." The survivor bowed his head in silence, but his heart carried something new: hope. The predator's rage had haunted generations, but now its story had changed. For the first time, the night did not belong to the hunters. It belonged to humanity.